Hi everyone, and welcome to another video where I spill the tea on a tarot deck. My name is Debbie and I am from Spill the Tea Leaf Readings and more. I do tarot card readings and tea leaf readings, and if you're interested in learning more, you can check out my website at spillthetealeaf.com, or you can email me directly at info@spillthetealeaf.com, or leave me a message or comment below. So today, as I'm sure you figured out, I am looking at the Housewives Tarot deck. Now, this is the last new tarot deck. I bought this very recently. I saw a post where someone posted the card of the week, and it was the Five of Swords, but with this deck. And I thought, oh my goodness, that's so clever. I want it. And I bought it. Um, but I'm trying really hard not to impulse buy tarot cards anymore. So hopefully this is my last deck for a while, but that also means that this is going to be my last video like this for a while. But fear not, I have something new coming, so don't forget to subscribe to my video so that you will know when that new video happens and is posted. So, with the Housewives Tarot, you'll notice I have not taken the cards out yet, and that is because I really wanted to show you how the cards are packaged, because it really is part of the personality of this deck. So, as usual, we'll start by looking at the box, and then we'll unbox the cards as I show them to you as well. So, here is the box. You can see that it's not quite the normal shape. I mean, it's still a rectangle, but obviously it's a little bit different than what you expect. And this is more of a collector's edition. You'll notice there's a place for someone to put their name, and oh, I did. It's cute. It has like a little coupon there, an old-timey ad. So it's the box is very nice. And the way this is packaged is it's a recipe box. And yes, there are actual recipes in here. So you have your title card, which just has some information on the back. No recipe on this one. But the one for the major arcana does. And it also says for use with the Neapolitan spread. And of course, we'll talk about the spreads towards the end when we look at the guidebook. The minor arcana card also has a recipe, and that is for use with the dinette spread. And then finally, there is a card for the instruction book with another recipe for use with the martini spread. So you can tell that this deck is very much on theme, and it actually causes a little bit of a crisis for me because I'm like, oh dear, what do I do when I start combining the cards, which I always do after these videos, because there's a separate place for major arcana and minor arcana, but I don't really want to keep them separate. So I will probably lose the integrity of the packaging so that I can use this deck, which is a little unfortunate because it's packaged so well. But what are you going to do, right? All right, so let's look at these cards, starting with the major arcana. And I'm just going to put this out of sight for now. And once I pull all the cards out, I will put it back where you can see it. All right, so these all have the traditional names and numbers on them. And they really are very like 1950s, 1960s ads and things like that. This guy looks like Chef Boyardee. I'm sure that was intentional. I did do a deck interview with this, and it was pretty it was a pretty good one. I think the overall impression was that it wants to help, it wants me to have fun and feel nostalgic. Um, but it's also a little, I don't know if temperamental is the right word, but if I don't use it for a while, it might decide to not be helpful, sort of thing. So maybe it's passive aggressive. It's a passive aggressive deck, which I guess if you're a 50s housewife, not to say 50s housewives are passive aggressive, but I feel like that might have been one way to have power in that time, perhaps. I don't know. Don't get mad at me if you were a 1950s housewife and I don't know what I'm talking about. I, I love this time period, but realistically, all I can think of is Betty Draper in this moment. So I don't know. So those are major arcana cards. And the first suit we'll be looking at, as I pull it out of this recipe box, is the cups. And you can't really see it very easily, but there's writing on the back of this. It feels like it's an ad for cupware or something. It's a little bit hard to read, but it's just a detail that you can see when you're looking right at the cards, which is pretty neat. And there are some other cards in the deck that have writing in the back like that as well, although the majority of them don't, which is fine. So you may have also noticed that for the most part, this deck does keep the feeling of the traditional Rider-Waite Smith deck. So you don't really need to, let me rephrase. You should definitely use your intuition with this deck, but if you're familiar with the traditional meanings, you shouldn't have to work too hard to figure out the meanings of these cards. The one thing I will say is that this deck is not meant to be read reversed. And so it throws me for a little bit of a loop, and I'll tell you why once I get the next suit out here. All right, so we'll look at wands. So normally when I read a deck, I do read reversals. And so if a card is upright, unless I'm getting a very clear message to read it a certain way that I would normally read reverse, I steer clear of those meanings. And so even when I read a deck that's not meant to be reversed, I kind of am in the habit of doing the same. And so I stick with the more, I don't want to say positive attributes of a card, but sort of that's what I mean. In this deck, very purposely combine the upright and reversed meanings for each card, which means it is meant to be read as a whole with all of the meanings, no matter which way it's turned, which is fine and makes perfect sense. But it was a little bit odd for me looking through the instruction booklet and noticing that some of the meanings that were given to the cards aren't meanings that I would think of right away because I think of the upright meanings before I think of the reverse meanings. So that's just a me thing, but it's a great way to learn tarot if you're looking for something a little bit quirky and different, because it does give you all of the meanings to be read with the card. I'm not sure I said that clearly, but hopefully you know what I'm talking about. Because I was busy talking, there was one card I wanted to pause with and I didn't do it. So I'm going to go back here for a second. I just do want to show you the card that I saw online that made me look into this deck. I don't know. I thought this was so clever. And so I wanted to know more, and then I saw more and I was like, nope, I have to have that. And now I do. So those are the swords. Obviously, here are the pentacles, which I'm having trouble with. All right, there we go. So again, you can see the meanings, really, they're very similar to the traditional imagery in a way that is totally different from it at the same time. So it makes it easy to read for people who are, again, familiar with the traditional card meanings. But it also gives it a little extra something, something. And, if this is the first deck you're using, it won't be hard to go from this to another deck that also shares the traditional meanings for that reason. All right. So those are all of the cards. The instruction booklet, which we'll look at in 1 second. I'm just putting my box back together. All right. So I like having the cards laid out ahead of time. It takes a little bit of time to finagle everything so that I can get everything on the camera all at once in a way that makes sense. What do you think, guys? Does that work for you? Okay. We'll do that. All right. So, camera up. There we go. There are all the cards. Wonderful. Thanks for bearing with me as I did that, folks. So the instruction booklet is nice. It's not huge, but it is thick. And it does, first of all, I should point out, because I haven't said this yet, that the creators are Paul Keppel and Jude Buffum. I'm not sure I'm saying those names right. So I'm sorry I didn't mention that sooner. There's the table of contents, so you can even see what all the spreads are right there. So I love the legend of the mystical Housewives tarot. So it gives you some background about tarot cards and about this deck. And then it talks about how to do a reading. And it has a spread, which is a 1-card spread that they call the Virgin. Neapolitan is a 3-card spread. The dinette, you can see over here, it's like a little place setting, which is adorable. The clothesline of life. And there's the martini spread. And then from there, it talks about the major arcana. And then it goes into each one and has parts of the pictures from each. And it gives you some keywords and then a little bit of an explanation. And then it talks a little bit about the minor arcana. And then it does the same thing for the suits here. So you get little pieces of the cards with each explanation and keywords that go with them as well. And that's it. That's all she wrote. Or he wrote, or they wrote, because there's 2 of them. So I find this deck to be wonderfully whimsical, quirky, nostalgic. It reminds me of those magnets. Oh, I feel like I have one on my fridge. I should have grabbed it. You've probably seen them. They're not just magnets. You can get like napkins and lots of other things where it's like a housewife doing something, but she'll say, I don't give a shit, or something like that. It feels like it's like that, but without the swear words. This is a deck that, because it's whimsical and because there's no nudity, kids could use it, but I don't think they would really appreciate it. I feel like this is a deck for people who have knowledge of the 1950s and 60s and culture from that time. You know, I grew up watching old reruns, Bewitched, Donna Reed show, you know, just as an example. So, not to say that that makes me an expert in 1950s housewife culture, because it obviously does not. But seeing those stereotypes is something that I grew up with. And I don't know, I really just like the 50s and 60s too. So I feel like this deck speaks to me just because I can enjoy it and I know where it's coming from. I get the references. I don't know that you have to get the references to enjoy this deck. I just don't know why you'd want it if you don't get it. But to each his own. It's whimsical, it's wonderful. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have more questions about the deck, let me know. If you'd like a reading with this deck or another, let me know. You can email me at info@spillthetealeaf.com, or you can comment below or private message me. Let me know what you think about this deck. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And I don't know when I'm getting a new tarot deck, so I don't know when the next one of these videos will be. So for now, I'm just going to say thank you so much for watching all of these videos I've made of the decks that I've received or bought myself since 2020. It's been a joy to share them with you, and I can't wait for you to see the next video series I'm launching. So don't forget to subscribe, and have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you. Bye.